This is the first one we're videoing, so I'm going to go ahead and tell a little bit about my background and my story of how I got into this and where I'm at now. I'm not a guru. I don't have all the answers. I started investing in, what was it, 2010, 9-10, but I didn't really start until last year, right? So I want to give a little bit of background. I want to have it videoed, put it on YouTube, so if anybody else wants to see my backstory, they don't have to hear it every time I do a speech, right? So it's up there. My wife and I bought a house. We house hacked, if you guys are on Bigger Pockets. We bought a house. It was just the two of us. It was 3,300 square feet. It was two of these barracks buildings that they had on Fort Rucker back when they were selling them for about, I think, $100 a piece for anybody that would come and get them. And somebody had bought two of them. They brought them and put them together. And very well built homes. I mean, they were built for the military. They had these extra rafters in them that made them very sturdy. So they were well built. They were moved out to a piece of property. We bought it. We moved in. And it was so big because it was two different buildings. Hey, Ryan. We decided we were going to live in one part of it and rehab the other part. And that's how we started with the rehab on that. So we went through that whole process of a live-in rehab, and it's challenging. We bought the property for $125,000. We worked a lot of overtime at Fort Rucker on weekends to get the cash to pay for the rehab out of pocket as we did it. We did everything ourselves except for when we did the vinyl siding. We hired somebody. It was $8,000 to do the whole exterior. Then it was out in Skipperville, which is about 30 miles the other side of Fort Rucker. And one night after overtime on the way home from work, my wife hit a deer. We had already bought the townhouses that we'll talk about later. And when she hit that deer, she was like, I'm done with living out here. I want to move into town. So guess what we did? We moved into one of our townhouses, and we lease optioned that property to someone else. So we gave them a lease with the option to purchase, and they stayed in it for a year and then bailed. So they had done some damage to the property. So everybody's heard the horror stories about renting to somebody and they do a whole bunch of damage and whatever. And that happened to us. The guy punched holes in the walls and all kinds of dumb stuff. So we hired a contractor to fix it. And the reason we didn't do it ourselves was we had done the work on the house before, so I mean we knew how to do it, but it was basically just drywall is all it needed, and that's easy work, but it takes 5 days, right? So you got day one, you fix it and you mud it, and then you just got to dry, and then you got to mud it again, dry, sand, mud, right? So it's like a 5-day process. Well, we had somebody who was interested in the property and they wanted to buy it. So we hired somebody to go and fix it. Well, they went out there, and on day one, they replaced all the bad drywall and put all of the, they mudded it for day one. Day two, he sent his employee out there. He didn't go himself. And for whatever reason, he started a fire in the fireplace. This was February. He started a fire in the fireplace, but we had roofed over the chimney. So he burnt that bitch to the ground. We got a phone call from the contractor. Your house is on fire. I'm like, what's going on? And he was like, oh, there's electrical fire in the roof. We get out there. No, his employee built a fire in the fireplace with no chimney, and it was on fire. Right? So, blessing in disguise. Insurance company paid. You look different with a beard. You're throwing me off right now.
I'm sorry. I just walked into the tail end of this, but I was about to say I need to get that contractor's number.
He was working at Burger King.
Well,
last time I saw him.
Yeah.
So.
Burns down. We'll know he's still there.
No, then he moved to Georgia when we went after him.
Oh.
And then he moved. Long story, whatever. Anyway, that was our first property. It burned. Now, after it was all done, and it took months and months for the insurance company to go through. Oh, well, it's not just a claim for fire. Now it's on the contractor and court and yada yada. We finally got our settlement for it, and we got $186,000. We bought the property for $128. Spent about $30 of material. Now, this is no contractor labor or anything like that. So then we took that money and we 1031'd it to a property on Rucker Boulevard.
So you didn't get an attorney for this?
Oh yeah, there was attorneys.
So how much did the attorney get?
Oh, you're right. We did not involve an attorney.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you wouldn't have got that 180.
Afterwards, we went to an attorney, and we haven't seen a penny. Because the insurance company will recover their full amount before we see any. So the insurance company was out all of that money, and they chased him around. He moved to Georgia, and like I said, I went to the Burger King drive-through in Ozark and recognized his voice on the pre-recorded. Thank you for coming to Burger King. How can I help you? So he shut down his business. Anyway, so that was our first deal. We transferred that to the property on Rucker Boulevard with a 1031, and we'll get more into the tax deferred stuff in later meetings. That's not what this one is for. Advance the slide. There we go. So Jim Hester is my stepdad. That's how I got into looking at real estate as a young child. He did a lot of it. He never dealt with houses. He only dealt with land. So him and my stepbrother, his son, had a logging company, and a lot of what they did was they would find land that they could buy for about what the value of the timber was. So, I mean, they did other things too, but how I was introduced to real estate was a lot of times they would just buy the whole land, because after you cut timber off land, it looks like crap, right? It's devastated. It's got ruts in it from the skidders and all the big machinery. So a lot of times they would go in and they would buy instead of just buying the timber, they would buy the whole property. They cut the timber off of it, and then my stepdad had dozers and all that. So he'd go in and clean it up, and if there was a wet spot or whatever the case may be, He'd put a pond in, and then they pretty much get their money back off the timber, and then spend time and energy and resources from having the equipment to beautify the land, and then afterwards they would sell the land, and that was the real profit. So some of the things that knowing that going in, Russ Whitney in '94, I went to one of his briefings at Fort Campbell when I was stationed there. I actually wound up meeting him a couple years ago. It's kind of weird. But then Carlton Sheets, if any of you guys were ever up late at night in the 2000s, right? Right? I bought his course for like $70 or whatever it was. Never did anything with it. And then Rich Dad Poor Dad, I think it was about 2004 when that came out. Just year after year of knowing that the possibilities were there for real estate, but always having some sort of excuse for not really going for it. So in 2008, Fortune Builders, which is the guy from Flip This House or whatever, you guys know what I'm talking about. Went to one of his briefings, and it was like a stupid amount of money. I didn't have it. And then 2018, went to a free event in Dothan. And it's one of those things, it's free to come, you got to pay to leave. So if you look on Bigger Pockets, they talk about not paying for these big events and paying all this money. But I saw it, I called, I booked an appointment for me and my wife to go, and I told her we're going. And she said, well, how much is it? And I said, it was free. Well, how is it free? I said, well, it's free to show up. They want to sell you something. We're not buying anything, are we? I said, nope, we're not. So we go. We get there. We're sitting through the presentation. About halfway through, she nudges me and she's like, hey, what? Sounds kind of good. I don't care. We're not buying anything, not spending any money. Going the rest of the way through. Get to the end. She nudges me. Right at the end, when they tell you to, all right, get up and go to the back. I think we should do it. I got up and went to the back. I paid for it. It was $1,800 to go to the next class, right? The reason I did that was because the value of having her on the team was worth $1,800 to me, right? So that's what I did. I didn't even say anything. I just got up. I knew that's what was going to happen. That's why I told her, no, we're not buying. No, we're not buying. No, no, no. Let's go do it. So I went. Then we went to the next class, which was Destin. It was down in Destin. And it was a 3-day event. And you guys have probably heard this a million times, but it was literally like drinking water from a fire hose. You know, it was just so much information. Yes, they were putting out great information. It was all stuff you could use to go back and be successful. Then on on Saturday, it was Thursday through Sunday. On Saturday, they pitched you the big one, right? They had a $22,000 level, a $32,000 level, and a $42,000 level.
I think I was at that meeting.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay. 22 got you whatever, 32 got you a little bit more, but 42 got you everything plus
Software.
plus a mentor
Yeah.
to come and meet with you and work with you for up to a year. To make sure you made your money back. And as we were leaving on Saturday, she asked me, what do you think we should do? I said, we should do none or all. Well, how are we going to pay for it? And I asked her, I said, what? Because there was a friend of mine that wanted to go instead of her. There was a friend of mine that wanted to go instead of her, right? And I said, no, I'm not. No, she's going. If you want to go with us, I'll call the company and find out how much extra it is for you to go. But I wanted her to come there because I wanted her to be on board with me if we were to do something. So we're leaving on Saturday night after they explained the $22,000, $32,000, $42,000 price. And she was like, oh, what do you want to do? I said, I'm not going to do it at all, or we're going to do 42. Well, why? Well, because it comes with the mentor, with the guarantee of you make your money back.
I don't know about down here, but I know up north
Take
it's
the-
illegal to guarantee that.
The guarantee to work with you until you make your money back. All right. So then the discussion became, how are we going to pay for it? I said, well, we could do this. We have got our credit cards, and we've got this much cash, and we've got this much savings, and blah, 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 blah. And she said, well, you know, we've got our kids' college. They've got $7,000. And I'm driving, and I look at her, and I go, if you were at home, and I'd have brought the other guy and said, hey, I need you to max out all your credit cards. I'm going to max out all my credit cards, take all of our money out of savings, and I need the kids' college. What would you have said? She was like, right? But we did it. We got home on Monday. We called. We increased the limits on all of our credit cards because we have good credit. We put everything on the credit cards. Kids' college fund is intact. And here we are a year later. Not only have we paid off all of that, but we've doubled what we had spent in only a year. So that's why I wanted to have this first meeting be recorded so I don't have to tell the story again. We spent so far, and we've spent more than that going to other events. We spent over $50,000 on our education. We didn't pay the big money gurus, but I don't feel that everybody needs to. So that's why I wanted to have these meetings and start sharing what I've learned with people here in Enterprise, because there's only one other person that I know of in this whole entire area that has went through that process. And I met him at Vegas at one of the events. But the point I was trying to get for the whole thing was, it was worth the 50 grand or so to have my wife on board. So instead of, like, I came in a couple days ago and said, we put in an offer on 2 houses today. And her answer was, okay. Where a lot of people would be freaking out about that. So that's why I wanted to share that part of my story. It was worth the money for me to go to the class, for her to come with me to be on board for, you know, whenever we do deals. So, talk about some of my deals. 2010, we did the Skipperville house hack that I told you about that burned. 2012 was Cody Drive and 6 townhouses that we bought. This was before going to the event because we just went last year. This was a creative financing situation. Richard Bray and Chris Lawley had built 6 townhouses that they were expecting to sell that weren't selling. I paid full price for those properties, but he gave me terms. He financed them to me. And we'll get deeper into that in the future. 2014, we did a lease option on Skipperville because we moved to one of the Cody Drive properties after my wife hit the deer. Those people bailed on the lease option, and then Skipperville burned. Then we 1031, which we'll get into later in the meetings about the 1031s and tax deferred growth. We bought property on Rucker Boulevard. It's 1602 Rucker Boulevard. It's by right down next to the key guy, right? Just the white building on the right if you're going towards Fort Rucker. So we 1031 that money from the burning of Skipperville into that property. And then we bought 180 Freedom Heights. We bought the land. We built a house on it. Our intention when we were building the house was for it to be a spec home. Couple of months into it, I don't know how this happened. This is crazy. My wife wound up pregnant. So she wanted to move out of the 2-bedroom townhouse we were living in, and we turned 180 Freedom Heights into our residence. So we moved into it. Then after we finished it, we did 212 Freedom Heights, which was a spec house. Built it, and then we also bought the rest of Copper Creek. It was a foreclosure. So we bought what was left after Richard Bray and Chris Lawley, and you built some houses in there, right?
Yeah, I just built some. I didn't buy any of the.
Right.
Bought some individually.
Right. So we bought the rest of what was left, which is basically the not so good lots, which is really what we were looking for when we were looking to buy a house, was land, and I wanted to be able to take my kids to hunt and fish, and it fits all the bills. There's a pond out there, there's land, it butts up to Fort Rucker, so there's deer, there's turkey. So then we went to the free seminar. So that was all the stuff prior. And June of 18, we went to the free one. And 18, we went to the not so free. It was $1,800. And then in August in Pensacola, nowhere near free. So one of the things that they told us in that seminar was go to your local RIA meeting. And I was like, closest one is Montgomery or Pensacola. So I started this one. So we did 9 deals in 9 years before going to that seminar. After the seminar and up until yesterday, we sold the spec house from some tips that we learned about going to the seminar. We bought Chalk Hills, which is anybody that's a realtor here has heard about the piss house. Chalk Hills, that thing smelled like cat pee because it was full of it. It had been on the market 2 times. Both times it fell through. So it was a VA foreclosure. We picked that one up. It had 5 acres attached to it that the neighbor had already put goats on, and he had it fenced off. And I started having these meetings out there, and I asked people, what would you do if somebody had built a fence on your property you just bought and had goats on it? And they're like, tell them get off. No. I asked him if he wanted to buy it. And he did. So the day that I bought 450 Chalk Hills, he was sitting in the parking lot waiting for me to close so that I could sell him that 5 acres next to it. So I had to bring $30,250 to the table to purchase. He paid me $25,000 for the lot next door. So I got 25 grand back. So I had $5,250 in this entire deal off the bat. Also during that time, I bought a house on Candlewood in Dothan. The plan was, once my guys were done with Chalk Hills, to go to Candlewood. But I put it up for sale to another investor to see if anybody would pick it up.
Which house?
3403, I think.
3303.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm 3303, so you were right up the street. Yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know the house you're talking about.
All right, so I put that property under contract for $50,000. I borrowed 53 from my private money lender. I didn't go through a bank on this one. And I told him, here's the plan. If we don't sell it to another investor before we're done with 450 and get my guys to move to 450, we'll rehab it and split the money. But I'm pretty sure we'll sell it. I sold it in a week for 73. The 212 Freedom Heights, I split 19,000 with the builder. So we got 9,500 each in 10 months. But in 2 weeks, I made more money on flipping that house than I did in 10 months of doing the spec. But that's because I was in the wrong area. Because my spec house,
How big was it?
square feet, 17.
That's not bad. But yeah, you got hit there on the market, when the school system changed.
Oh, are you talking about 212?
Yeah.
2411. But that's exactly right. Is the change was houses were selling like crazy in there until Enterprise changed their school system to where if you're outside the city limits, you got to pay.
What did you sell per foot?
Hmm?
What did you sell for per foot?
It sold for 296. It was 100.
About 125 a foot?
No, well, it was like 114.
It's 2,400 foot?
We had to add a pool.
Okay.
We had a pool, fence, blinds. So we did okay on it, but we had to hold it for 10 months before it sold. All right, so Candlewood, in 2 weeks we made as much money off of Candlewood just doing a flip straight from buying it, negotiating the deal and selling it to another investor as we did from a new construction, build from the ground up, 4 months of build and holding. That probably would not have been the case if the market hadn't have changed with the school system, but it happened. So you've got to be fluid in what goes on in the market. All right, so we rehabbed Chalk Hills. We picked that up for 125.6. We sold it for, it appraised for after repair value at 205. We sold it for $200,001 in 8 days on the market. 8 days on the market, yeah.
Who's your real estate company that you use?
All of them. I don't work with one. Just like one can't. I had somebody try to wrangle me into a exclusive, what do you call that? The exclusive,
Is it right to sell?
yeah.
It's not for one house,
I had somebody try to do it for everything. But that was when I was just beginning. But I work with several, just like one real estate agent can't work with just one seller. I work with a lot of them. So you'll work through the process of finding the ones that are great, and there's a lot of them that aren't great. That actually on the Chalk Hills, I had somebody try to blow the deal up like 3 times.
Are you finding those deals? Like you're finding your own deals?
Some.
And some that realtors bring to you?
Finding more myself than realtors are bringing to me, and that's what the purpose of the meeting, and that's why I want to go through the kind of like my.
Just to play devil's advocate, not, I know if you're in Dothan and you're in Enterprise.
You want to grab a mic?
No, I'm just trying to help you out. Like, I know that a realtor in Dothan cannot handle Enterprise can't handle Dothan. But if you were dealing with one person in Enterprise, they'd probably bring you deals.
Well, I'm working with Jonathan pretty good.
I bet you'll probably bring you deals.
True. Deals from the MLS. So.
Yeah, he's not gonna find deals, probably how you're finding them.
Right, and that's kind of the point of the meeting today is your awesome deals are not going to be through the MLS. The awesome deals that go to the MLS get 9 offers in one day,
They do.
and there's competition because there's investors out there. Right, right. The Mold House that was $45,000 that went on the market this week had 9 offers the day it went on. So. That's the 20 you work with multiple realtors in different markets. And every once in a while, you can get a good deal from the MLS. But if you really want to be an investor and get the deep deals, you need to find them before they hit the MLS. And that, right? And then sell them on the MLS because you're going to need to max money from the MLS. And a good realtor is definitely worth their money. Pay them, right? Pay them every penny. Because they will move your properties, and if they bring you one, and if you get inside dibs on a property that's not on the market or it's coming on the market, or those are great deals. So I don't want to cloud realtors. They're not all created equal, right? There's some realtors that don't even like working with investors because they think we're bloodsuckers and we're trying to just steal properties. But what I try to do is solve problems, right? So if there's somebody that's got a property, they need to move, or they're going through a divorce, or they're whatever the case may be, they're about to go into foreclosure. I've got one in my neighborhood. I knew it was going into foreclosure. I called the guy and told him, I can stop your foreclosure. I can save your credit. I have a way that I can creatively do this. He let it go to foreclosure. I mean, you can't help everybody, right? I'm not trying to be a bloodsucker, but throughout the course of the next few months of what I'm going to talk about is it's time or money. What do you need? Do you need money right now? We can do that. If you can wait, we can give you more money for your property if you can stand to wait, and we can stop foreclosures and all that stuff. So get back on track. After the seminar, Westfield, we had a lease option on that. The guy bailed on us. We got a new lease option on it last week. Hull Street, bought that, sold it in a week, owner finance. King Street, bought that one, sold it yesterday. We got a contract signed on Wednesday. We closed on it yesterday. 48 hours from contract to signed. I put it on the market last week, so I put it on Facebook. So it was on Facebook for a week. Got a contract on Wednesday. We closed yesterday. Richland Avenue, that is a deal that I had been chasing for a year. Got it under contract. Completely gutted it. They're doing second coat of drywall today. Some of you, we met over there a couple months ago. That one's going to be a Airbnb. Powell Street, bought that one. Found that one on Facebook. Found it, closed on it in 8 days or so. Westfield, okay, Westfield backed out of the lease option. We re-lease optioned that again 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And King Street sold yesterday. So before the seminar, we did 9 deals in 9 years. After the seminar, we did 16 transactions, not including our rentals, in the last 1 year. So the biggest value for me for going to that seminar and paying all that money was for my wife to be completely on board. We don't even go to the houses anymore. I don't even take her there anymore. The first, the Candlewood, we drove up in the driveway, and I was like, we bought that for 53, or we bought it for 50. But we borrowed 53 to get recover our advertising, and later we sold it for 73. So she doesn't even question me anymore, and the value of having your family on board is, to me, was worth the value of going to the seminar and spending all that money. You don't have to spend all that money yourself. What I want to do with these seminars is bring back what I've learned from those and share it with everybody. So anybody that wants to come, bring your spouse, business partner, whatever it is. Again, I'm not a guru. I've done only a few deals. Dex, you did what, 31 new constructions this year? You plan on doing 50 next year? I mean, I'm definitely not the smartest guy in the room, but I am willing to set up the room and open it up for people to talk, people who want to know about it, people who want to get involved. If you want to partner with somebody like Dex to do a new construction, or you want to partner with me to do a deal, that's the purpose of this meeting. You want to do business with each other. What I see in the future of this meeting is I would like to have contractors, electricians, plumbers. I would like to have enough people in the room to do a deal. Wholesalers, if you go and find a deal and you can bring it here and you can sell the deal to another investor who's looking for one. So that's my vision. And now I'll open it up to questions.
That seminar, they'll put you on with private money people or something?
Not private money, hard money. Hard money, which is a lot more expensive.
So they kind of got you on, hey, you're going to spend this up front, but we're not going to leave you hanging kind of.
The level I went to was they had one of their coaches come here to Enterprise. And there was 10 or 12 of them or something that I had to pick from. And I picked one that lives at Fort Campbell. So we're right outside the military base. Our market is different than most other markets, right? Because we have a market that's based on a military base. So our fluctuations are less, right? there is definitely a drop coming in the market. Are we going to see it as hard as Birmingham? No, not at all. Because our the major part of our market is based on Fort Rucker. So I chose someone that lives at Fort Rucker, or at Fort Campbell. And he came down here and he spent a week, and he went to Chalk Hills with me to look at that one. And we went to several other deals. Again, that's why I chose him, is because this market is similar. Any other questions?
So the seminar's pretty good, undoubtedly for y'all.
It's fabulous. Yeah, it was great. You know, there was nothing like this one. Right? It was all hype and pumped up and getting everybody in the mood to buy. But I'm not selling anything here. Right? I'm just trying to, as best I can, relay what I've learned from that back out to here. I talk to people all the time, and they want to be real estate investors, but they have had no training. And now that I've been through this training, a lot more of it makes sense, right? So yesterday I was talking to a guy at work that's trying to sell his house. There's somebody that wants to buy his house, but basically they just have a bunch of money parked and they want to buy a rental property. They want to pay all cash for a property in the, what we'll call it, $150,000 price range, and they're expecting to rent it for $1,100. Is that a good deal? Why not? Right? 1% rule, right? These people don't know the 1% rule. They just have some cash that they're sitting on, and they think they want to just park it, right? 1% rule does not work there at all. So the 1% rule is, if you buy a house for $100,000, you should rent it for $1,000 a month. If you don't get at least $1,000 a month on a $100,000 property, you're probably going to lose.
That's your
Minimum. Looking for two. I picked up one in Dothan month before last. It's 2.4. So I don't want to blow his deal, so I'm not going to say anything about it and give any details, because the guy wants to sell his house. But if you're a realtor and you have someone who is looking to place some money that they've inherited, or they have, or they're just sitting on, or whatever, give them the 1% rule and use that so that they don't buy one property from you and lose money over the next few years. To buy 10. Because they make money, you know. So go to the next. I forgot, we ain't even got into the how to find deals yet.
Real quick, is this your full-time job? Or
It is not
you
yet.
still have a full-time?
I work at Fort Rucker, aircraft mechanic, second shift, low field, 2 to 10:30. Makes it easy to get money from the bank. Solid W-2, 10 years, right? But I'm building. I have a 2 and a 4-year-old. Next year, my 4-year-old obviously will start school. I don't want to be on second shift when that happens. I do absolutely want to replace my income. So the deal I did yesterday was the owner finance. My spread on that deal is $422 a month. That's not rental money. That's my money that I can look at as far as replacing my income at Fort Rucker. If you have rentals and you make $400 a door, is that your money? You have rentals, don't you?
Not now, I have.
You got
No,
you.
that's, That's well, yeah, I guess I do have one now. But yeah, that's all pre-expenses.
Yeah. Air conditioning's out. Toilet's clogged. Roof leaking. So that's not your money. When I buy a property and I own or finance it out, when that money hits, that's money that I can keep. I don't have to bank that money and wait for a problem. The Hull Street one that I talked about, a month after they bought that property, which, by the way, that lady cried at the closing table. She was so happy. Because there's no other way possible that she would have been able to buy a house if it hadn't been for somebody that can do a creative financing deal, right? They lost their house, they lost their job, living in an RV. She sent me a message on Facebook and said, do you know where I can buy a refrigerator? Because this one quit working. With a rental, that would have been, come fix my refrigerator right now. And
I got a text 2 minutes ago, somebody's refrigerator went out.
2 minutes ago. See the difference, right? The stress level. So that's what I'm trying to gear towards is learning these creative financing deals. Okay, so how to find deals for free or close to free. MLS, we're going to talk about that first. You want to be the first person in or the last person in on the MLS. The day it goes on the market, if it's a good deal, there's going to be competition. Go for it. I do not discredit MLS. I just have not done a lot of deals from the MLS because there's so much competition. Why is there so much competition? There's a lot of lazy investors. They're relying on real estate agents to bring them deals. That's why the Mold House had 9 offers the first day it was on the market. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, there's nothing on the market really.
Right.
Like 2012, you could find a foreclosure. Like pre-2012 and even up until 2014, like a good deal of foreclosure. Whenever I say foreclosure, I'm not saying like, hey, you can find a foreclosure that's not worth what you're about to pay for. You can find a foreclosure that you can make money. You can't find that right now.
Yeah.
If you do, 9 people are coming.
Yep. Use the mic, please. You're going to talk most, I know. So just hang on to it. It's because we're recording it and you're not going to be picked up so much. But first or last, right? Chalk Hills. It was under contract 2 other times before I even looked at it and made an offer on it. It was a VA foreclosure, and agents will tell you you cannot negotiate with a VA. I negotiated 2 times on that property. The first one was my first offer that I made that was accepted because it was on the market, under contract, fell through, on the market again, fell through. On the market the 3rd time, I offered 9% less than asking, got accepted. Then the hurricane came and blew a tree over and hit the garage. So I negotiated again. Because a tree fell on the garage. So first or last on MLS, you want to have contacts with multiple agents who can say, hey, here it is. It's on the market today. So there's definitely deals to be found on the MLS. So you want to be first or last. Skipperville, that house had been on the market for, I can't even remember, like a year. Right? So that was one we negotiated. We got the price down a little bit. We didn't even know what we were doing then. That was in 2009 or 10, but we did get the price down. We got into it, but it needed a ton of work. The thing on that one is we did all the work ourselves, so we had a lot of sweat equity. Cody Drive. That property, and Dex, you probably know this, there was on Cody Drive, along with Freedom Drive, there was a lot of townhouses being built, right? Those 2-story townhouses. So the builder built a first set on the left, got it to 80% occupancy, built the second set, 80% occupancy, went to the bank, got the money to build the third set on the other side of the street, 80% occupancy, moved on to build the fourth set. Bank said, we're not doing that anymore. What do you mean? Well, we're not doing any more of those type of properties. 2-story, 1-car garage, because the market was oversaturated because of all the stuff on Freedom Drive. Billy Cotter, I believe, built.
Ross.
Ross, you're right. Built a ton of those. So banks stopped lending money to builders to build those type of houses. So what happened was they changed their model and they built single story, 6 units, because a lot of people were complaining about the stairs. So they said, all right, we'll change it up. We'll go with what the market's saying. They're asking for single story. They built those 6. They wouldn't sell. They would rent, but they wouldn't sell. So the guy that built them didn't want to be a landlord. He wanted to build and sell. Found those, did a creative deal on those, and we'll get into that in next month or 2. But I picked those up at full price, but the guy that sold them to me gave me terms. So you can pay somebody a higher amount for a property if they give you terms. So he owner financed those properties to me. I got 5% interest on 30 years when he had a loan at 20. He actually loses about $300 a month on that deal. But it's all about the numbers and how you can negotiate. And this is before I went through this class that I went to, and I'm so much more in tune now with how to do more creative deals to be able to give somebody full price if they want it, if they will give me terms. Copper Creek, I was last on that one. Same guy went in and bought 20-something lots. This was a development that was started. The developer went bankrupt. It set for several years. Same guy went into it. They bought 20-something lots. They started building houses left and right. That's just where I live. That's where I built my house, the 180 Freedom Heights we talked about earlier. And then I had a right of first refusal on the lots next to me that I got a call one day and said, here's your right. Pay me or I'm selling it to somebody else. So then bought the lot next door. That's where 212 Freedom Heights came from. Built that spec house. Market changed because of the school system. I still own those lots out there, but I was last to come in and I bought them about 50 cents on the dollar because they had been on the market for years. Chalk Hills, I talked about that already. For sale by owner. This is another way to find deals. A lot of people call this for sale by optimist. They're trying to sell it for more than it's worth and they don't want to pay a realtor to sell it for them, right? There's a lot of those out there. Every once in a while you'll find one. So if you want to do the work to go through them all, but I've only picked up what? Break? Huh? Break? Does anybody need a break?
You and Zach, because I went to the same seminar, he's getting fired up back here.
Did you?
Did y'all?
No, not saying things.
You just saying this term, and you're like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I bought a program.
Give him the mic so we can get it on video, please.
I bought a program from a guy in Arizona, Clever Investor.
Okay, yeah. I know he's all over Facebook and YouTube and
I
yeah.
mentor everything I call to. And I'm meeting him Monday actually. So I said, hey, so I've been looking at houses, getting about 3 a week right now. Not buying them, but doing 3 meetings a week right now. And I'm not closing them, like, we're not getting the contracts right. And he said, well, it sounds to me like you're not getting the right opportunity yet, because they're wanting, like you said, optimist right there. So they're wanting, one went to yesterday actually. He said that he wants to pay us $160 for one house and $40 for the other house. But the market value for one was $33,000, but $40,000. So that's $7,000 more market value for it, and we had to put $7,000 into it. And then the other house might have been worth $160. He had a $164. He had an MLS for over a year. They were $160 for us. And we're like, no, we can't do that. And so that's why we couldn't get under contract, because he wanted way too much. So he said, the only way I'm doing right now is putting bandit signs everywhere. And he's like, man, the main thing, the best way to get leads is I have 3 websites, 2 of them, supposed to one gets buyers, one gets sellers. He said that's the best way to get your leads, and through social media. But you can't do social media until you have like evidence that you can sell the flip house and make money for investors and lines to sell to you kind of thing. So I told Dex, I said, man, I think that's the best way to get deals is we just tell them do creative deals so that they didn't get full price, which they are, but longer returns instead of writing cash right now kind of deal. So I don't know why. I think that's what you're saying.
Now you're speaking my language,
Yeah.
right? Bandit signs work. We're going to get to that. That's on the slide. I'll answer your question in a second. It's in the slide. For sale by owner, 180 Freedom Buys. I bought that direct. 212, right of first refusal. Bought that direct. Babysitter signs, and then we're getting into, all right, so the first deal that I did after going to that class was a babysitter sign. That's the ones where you see they got the cuts in them, you got the phone number. That's where I got the Candlewood house. It was in a library in Dothan. We buy houses, cut, stuck it on a bulletin board. Lady called from that. That's how we made 20 grand on that house in 2 weeks. And it probably would have been less than 2 weeks, but I didn't put out the marketing for a week. We got the call, we got the contract on it, and then I didn't put out the signs. It was the week before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving night, going into Friday morning, I had a bunch of tools stolen from the Chalk Hills. We know who did it. We got pictures. We can't prove it because we didn't have a tag number, but it was somebody I hired to do work. Right? There's neighbors on both sides who have deer cams. It's a dead-end street. We know who did it, but I don't have proof. So that Saturday, we went down to Sadie's to look to see if maybe my tools would show up at Sadie's. On the way back from Sadie's, I put out my bandit signs. I think we put out 12 on that Saturday. On Monday, I got the first phone call. Tuesday, he called again. On Wednesday, we had a deal from the babysitter signs. Facebook Marketplace is a great place to look for people who are being lazy about selling their house. If they've inherited a house or something like that, I've done 3 deals off Facebook Marketplace. Okay, the house I sold yesterday came from Facebook Marketplace. Hull Street, which is another owner finance deal that I did. I picked it up, sold it, did no work to the property. And what was the third one? I forget. They all start running together if you do so many. It's like going to look at houses, you know. If you look at 10, you're like, well, all right, so King Street, Hull Street, Powell Street, yeah, Powell Street. That's in Dothan. That was off Facebook Marketplace. That is a turnkey property, has a tenant in it, been in it for 2 years, paying $425 a month. Crappy area, right? One street over, so I drove the neighborhood before I met the guy. One street over, daycare. One street the other way, community garden. Same street, one block, there's a guy out there who has rehabbed at one house, and he has his crew rehabbing the next house, next door. They're sitting there. I stop and talk to them. Hey, what's going on? Oh yeah, we rehabbed this one, and we're working on this one, and we want to buy more, and that's a good area. It's crap area, right? But there's people actively remodeling houses right there in one block. That's my 2.4 return right there. It's Powell Street. I picked it up off Facebook. Guy only had one rental. He got a promotion at his job. He didn't want to deal with it anymore. He just wants to focus on work.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, you can. Please take the microphone so we can get it on. No, please.
I just want to know if you're financing all these houses that you buy.
Not all of them. Powell Street, I pay cash for. Right?
I guess you'll get into that.
I can get into that deeper later, but
But you worked up to that, correct? Because you lost most of your money when you hit 42,000. You didn't lose it, but you had like kind of tapped out a little bit to grow.
right.
So I think that was like, because you had grown into where you can now pay cash a little bit more.
I paid cash on that one because I had to. My mentor told me, if you pay your own money for property, you're stupid or lazy. He wasn't being mean about it. But if you find a good deal, you can find the money for it. Now, I found a good deal in that property, but the money that I had been using was tied up. I have a private money lender. I only have one. That's my fault. I only have one right now. His money was tied up, and he was like, I'm not right now. So I just closed on it myself because I was lazy and did not go out and find somebody else that wanted to get the returns on it. Right? But if you find the deal, there's money out there. And I also look at it as I can still go and get money on that property, on it free and clear. It's paying $425 a month. I can put a mortgage on it. I can create a mortgage. I can go to a bank and get a mortgage. I can go to a private money lender and get money on it. So that there's the saying that money is made in real estate when you buy it. Profits are realized when you sell it. So when I purchased that property, my bottom line on my bank statement went up. I only paid $17,000 for that property. It rents for $425.
On your Cody Drive, did you get 1%?
Ooh, see, that was prior to me going through the class. I'm working up to that. I don't.
I don't disagree with your Cody Drive, though, because it's new, it's in a great area, and it's going to retain value. It's more of a long play, but I don't disagree with that. It's just a different style. And what's your thoughts on that, man?
All right, so let's just jump into it. 6 units, 112, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, right? One building. He wanted $90,000 a piece for them. That's what he had it listed. He had one of them rented to a lady that she wanted to pay what her mortgage amount would pay or would be, and she promised to buy in 6 months when she got her credit fixed. Anybody knows anything about credit, you can't fix that shit in 6 months, you know what I'm saying? So I heard that. Then the other 5 units had their first tenants ever, and one of them was still open and never had a tenant. So part of being intuitive and just listening to find out what your seller wants was he was going to make 10 grand on selling the one that the lady was living in when she bought it, or 9 grand. It was a $99,000 purchase. I offered $90,000 for all of them, and I offered, instead of making 10 grand on that one, or 9 grand on that one property 6 months from now, which he knew too that was never going to happen, I'll give you $10,000 down if you'll finance all of them. And in 6 months, I will purchase that property using my VA loan, and I'll move into it. So I promised him not only $10,000 down, which he was never going to get from the other lady, but also $100,000 for the one property. So by listening to what your sellers are asking for, you can get creative deals. Made that offer on, I think, Thursday. On Monday, came back and said, we'll take it. We closed on Wednesday. No banks, because he financed it to me at 5% on a 30-year AM. So everybody at work was like, how did you come up with 20% of $540,000? No, I didn't. Because I didn't have it. But if you can be creative, you don't have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to put down, or any money down.
Today, knowing what you know today, would you do that deal again?
Yeah, because he gave me terms. He gave me a 30-year AM. He's on a 20.
And even if I think that's a good deal, even if you just bought it. Like if somebody.
You want to buy
on the
it?
market
You want to buy it?
For 90 apiece?
99.
What are you getting rent?
950 on most of them. The least one is 800 because she's been there for 3 years.
950 on the rest?
I think 4 of the other ones. I haven't jacked the girl that's on 800 because she doesn't call me. Right? She don't call me about light bulbs. She don't call me about nothing. I've been nice to her. My wife's like, it's the year. You're going to up her rent? No. Not. I'm going to wait until we get to 1,000, then I'm going to tell her, all right, you're $200 a month below everybody else. You need to jack it up. Because when she moved in, I asked her how long she's going to stay. And she said, until you kick me out. And she doesn't call me. That's a good tenant.
Heck yeah.
Right?
Don't raise the rent. I would not raise the rent.
I haven't. Everybody else is at 950 as they rotate out. 950.
And you want to sell that?
You want to buy it?
I might. Seriously, I might.
Well, we haven't got to that part of the meeting yet.
Okay.
But that's the point of this meeting, is I want people to do business with each other. Right? I want people to do business with each other. I want if you go, and that's why I wanted the point of showing how to find deals off market is bring those deals here and sell them to other people, other investors. If you're a wholesaler and you're just getting started, you don't have any money, you can wholesale, you can Google it. Find a deal, bring it here. Give it to somebody in the room first. At least give them the option first. Then put it out. And you don't have to wait to the meeting either. That was kind of the point of developing the website, which I'm working on. I'm not the greatest web developer. Derek's way better than I am. He doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be hired to do it. But that's the point of the whole meeting is The $50,000 that I've spent on paying gurus to teach me how to find deals and do deals, you can only handle so many, right? Jonathan's not here, but we had 2 deals last week that we were under contract to get. And a 3rd deal came in. I can only handle about 5. Anything over 5, I need to push it out. Right? But I'm to the point to where I'm starting to get deals to come to me. So I'd rather give it to somebody in the group. Yeah. I'll wholesale a deal out to somebody for a couple grand. Where are we at on the slide? Westfield. I don't even remember where we were talking about on that. I've sold that one twice. Keep going. Candlewood, baby. Facebook. Great place to find deals. We talked about those. We talked about Powell Street. That's in Dothan. Is that it? Does it stop there? Referrals. That's where Westfield came from. A friend of mine called me and said, hey, we talked about this last month when you were there. Sergeant Major in the Army bought a house here, was planning to retire here. He met a woman at Fort Campbell, and she wants to live in Nashville. What do you think happened to the house in Westfield? They had a tenant that wasn't paying rent because it was the only one that he had. He was not a professional landlord. He was a forced landlord, which you find a lot of deals with forced landlords, right? So he had a tenant that wasn't paying rent. I went out and did some work. Is how I met him. This was like 2 years ago. I cut some trees and limbs and stuff. Then they finally moved out. They got another tenant in. They got a phone call that said, we bought a house, we're moving out. She was 3 weeks away from delivering. Her scale of dealing with a rental property was 0. So she called a friend who I knew, who called me and said, can you help? The only way that I can help, because they wanted me to manage the property, is in their mind. That's illegal. I don't own the property. I can't do it, right? What I can do is I can lease the property from her. I can then sublease it to someone else. So I lease the property, and this has all happened since last month. The person that I leased it to had moved here from Louisiana and was supposed to be this golden boy that was going to be promoted in this company in Troy. He needed to sell his house there in Louisiana. He wanted to use the money to purchase this property. He was too far away from his family. He was a small kid and stuff. He decided he didn't want to be here anymore. So he wanted to go back. So he called me and said, I want to leave. What do I need to do? Instead of being a jerk landlord and saying, I've got a lease contract with you, this is what I do with all of my people, is I will put it on the market. If I can get another tenant in there, you can be released. Right? Not going to keep your deposit, not going to do any of that crap. I will release you from the lease as long as you will stay in there long enough for me to find somebody else. I put the property back on the market 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It took me almost a month. I found another tenant that his credit score is just a little bit short of being able to buy. So I have a lease with an option to purchase at what they owe on it. And then he has a contract with a lease to an option to purchase with $25,000 more than that. And he has the right to exercise that lease or that option for 2 years. but he's just a little bit short. So I also work with a credit repair company for people who are really close. And for those of you that work in real estate and you're looking for people that are kind of close, he's enrolled in the credit repair to accelerate the amount of time that it would take to get his own financing. So he can buy me out at any time. So he has the option in the next 24 months at any point to buy me out and take the property and move on. So I solved the problem of the person in Nashville that did not want to have a problem, deal with a realtor or deal with a tenant, deal with leaky toilets and stuff, but the dryer or the washing machine quit working. And it threw up a code because everything has a code now. All it was, I didn't even charge them to go and look at it and take care of it. All it was socks and stuff had drifted out the other side and got down, and it got to where the tub wouldn't spin. I think it was code 52, I think it was. I YouTubed it. What's the problem with code 52 on this type of washer? Pulled it out, took the clothes out, put it back. But the value to her is she doesn't have to worry about it because I made the payment to her for 2 months while it was not occupied. So she doesn't have to worry about it. So my contract with her stands. Even if I don't get it rented, she has no worries. But then now I've got somebody that's paying $1,050. So my payment to her is $800. Payment to me is $1,050, and he has the option to buy. And that was a referral. Driving for dollars. Anybody heard that statement? Do we need to take a break? Sure. Let's take a break. Driving for dollars. Do you have the Deal Machine app on your phone?
I have a deal all there.
Do you have the Deal Machine app on your phone?
Yes, I do. I have it.
I'm going to ask you one more time. Pull your phone out. Deal Machine.
Zach, I think he's trying to tell you to go to action.
Sometimes it takes a couple of.
The deal machine for real estate?
That'd be the one. Blue and some dots. And all right, so driving for dollars has been a staple for people who have no money, but you got some time, right? You just drive around and you look for houses that look jacked up. Grass is overgrown, whatever. The Deal Machine app, and if you do it, you drive up and you stop and you write down the address and then you go home and you pull up the county records and you try to find the property owner, and just big long process, and it's kind of a pain in the butt, and then you'll get the cops called on you because you're driving around just sitting in the road looking like you're looking for outside pharmaceutical sales, right? On Deal Machine, you can drive. You've got two options. You got three options here. You got the $49 a month membership fee, which is pretty expensive for an app. You've got the $200 a month fee that's a 1-year requirement if you want to have people on your team, or you can be one of the 2 people that can be on my team for free. So I'm allowed, I pay the $49 a month. I'm allowed to have 2 people on my team for the 49. If I go above 2 people, I have to pay the $200 a month, and it's a 12-month commitment. So right now, I'm at the $49 per month. Who wants to be on the team? 3, 4, 5. What? 1, 4. I'm gonna need some sort of commitment.
What kind of commitment? 1 year, 2 years?
I've got to do a 1-year commitment to put you on the team.
Okay.
I passed out a piece of paper. If you want to be on Deal Machine, you want to be on my team, I need an email. If you don't have a piece of paper, let me give you one. It's just a blank. It's just a blank piece of paper. Name, phone number to text, and email. With Deal Machine, you drive up, you see a property, it geolocates you, you look at the property, grass overgrown or whatever. You can drop a pin, you verify, make sure that that is the property, make sure that your GPS is not off a little bit, look at the mailbox or something. You click on it. Then you click on the camera button. Make sure that when you take a picture that your rear view mirror is not in the picture. That's mostly going to the realtors out there that do that. You've seen them. But take a picture. It takes that picture and it automatically puts it to a postcard that says, is this your home? Do you want to sell it? And it's a picture of their overgrown, ugly house. It may be a landlord that lives out of town. And it may be somebody that's not interested in selling at all. Then we can skip trace that and see if we can get a phone number. Anybody in here willing to get on the phone and call, text, email homeowners for deals?
I've done it.
So there's going to be some deals that are going to come in where the homeowner is not going to want to sell. There's going to be some that we're going to come in that are going to sell for retail value. What are we going to do with those?
Negotiate.
We're going to pass them off to a realtor. So the realtor's going to make the commission. As an investor, I'm not going to pay retail price. I can't. I can't afford to buy a house at retail price and resell it. The fees and whatever just muck it up. It's not going to work. What I want as an investor is I want the deep discounts, the ones that the cat piss house. Right? I want the ones that need work, that can't go on the market and be sold to a retail buyer that's going to go and get a mortgage. I want properties where I can go and use whatever source of funds that I need, whether it be private money, hard money, construction loan from a bank, whatever it may be, but it just doesn't qualify to be sold on the market. And I want those at a discount. What I'm looking for is 70% of after repair value minus repair cost. So if it's a $100,000 property, I want to buy it at $70,000 minus what it's going to cost me to fix it. So if it needs $20,000 in repair, we're looking at $50,000. If you can get it under contract for $45,000, you can sell it to me for $50,000 and make your wholesale fee of $5,000. My number is 70% of after repair value minus repair cost. I will buy that deal. Pick up the mic.
No, it's
Did he tell you the same thing? 70%?
not. 75, but yeah, it's about
Depending on the area.
Investor said for wholesaling, so it's up to you.
Pick up the mic, please, so it's on the.
Yeah. He said it depends on the investor, how much percent off
Mhm.
of after repair value, and then you subtract, well, if you're a wholesaler, you subtract your wholesale fee, and you subtract your, how much it costs to fix it, that's your most you can pay for it. But, you're the investor, so it'd be 30% for you, using the wholesale fee.
And that 30% for me includes what?
All the closing costs and,
Realtor fees. So it's not 30% to me. That's what a lot of people think. Oh, you bought a house for 100, you sold it for 150, you made 100, you made 50,000. No, I didn't. I had carrying costs. I got your unexpected. I had to pay the realtor. I might make 25 on that one.
Right.
I'm not going to touch a deal if I can't make 25 on it because there's so much risk that you won't make the 25.
There's a risk that you're not gonna get what you think you're gonna get. You gotta have a buffer, and if you don't, you're crazy.
About that, I'm going to share this thing. 450 Chalk Hills. I had it appraised. It appraised for $205,000. Okay. After repair, right? So to do these deals, you have to get an appraiser to come in and appraise it as is junk, and then what it's going to be worth after. So this property came in for an appraisal of $205,000. After I finished it, I did not only everything that was presented to the appraiser and the bank in the scope of work, but we did more than that. It had popcorn ceilings. We scraped those. That was another like $2,000 just to scrape that, and we trimmed out the windows, did some other stuff. So when we got ready to sell it, okay, we posted it for sale, appraised value, $205,000. For sale, $190,000. $15,000 below appraised value. I was out of town that weekend, so we put it in the contract that all offers to be submitted, the winning offer would be announced at 5 p.m. the following Friday. I got an offer Saturday, an offer Sunday, and I think an offer on like Tuesday or Wednesday. We sold the house for $200,001 to the highest offer in 8 days. Do not overprice your properties if you're rehabbing and wait for the market and think you're going to get a bunch of money for it and then have to wait 8 months, 10 months, and then lower your price, because now you're getting into the last part when we talked about MLS, the first or last. You want to go low. So the market will dictate the value of your property. You don't dictate it. An appraiser doesn't dictate it. They can give you a number that you can take to the bank, but the market will give you what your house is worth. If I listed my house tomorrow for $1, would it sell for $1? Feeding frenzy. Sold that house in 8 days. I priced my properties below market value with an appraisal to show proof that's below, and then have the market argue their way up. So was I better off at taking a $205,000 property and selling it for $200,000 in a week, or should I have listed it for $200,000 and waited a year to sell it for $90 or $190? So, what's the next slide, brother? Driving for dollars. I found Richland Avenue driving for dollars. It took me a year to buy that house. It had over $100,000 worth of tax liens against it. I contacted the guy every 2 or 3 months. I found the property, pulled it up, did the tax record. It was before Deal Machine. I didn't know about Deal Machine at this time, but Deal Machine makes it way easier. But I found it, went home, researched it, skip traced him, found a phone number, called it, and it actually happened to be his cell number. Hello? I was like, hey, you got this house on 205 Richland. I think you're the owner of it. Would you be willing to sell it? He said, I'll make a hell of a deal for somebody who wants to buy that house. But it had tax liens, and it took him almost a year to get those cleared up.
Could you have negotiated with the person who held the mortgage?
There was no mortgage. Tax lien. IRS, federal tax lien.
How come it took so long?
He had to fix his end because the lien was attached to the property. He couldn't sell it without satisfying the lien.
No, I was just saying, especially if it's IRS.
IRS is easier to deal with than the state. If you've ever had to deal with them, don't ask me how I know. IRS is much easier than state. State doesn't negotiate much. So he called me up. I stayed in contact with him every couple months. I just call him up, and then finally he got it cleared up. The day he got the letter, he called me, said it's cleared up. And was it you that went and looked at it? It was somebody else in the ADPI group that had went and looked at it. And okay, so we started at 30. We negotiated down to 25, I think, to buy the property. And then when he got his release, he called me because I've been talking to this guy for a year, every couple months. And he was a prior aviation guy. That's why I was here at Fort Rucker anyway. So we built some rapport, and I finally got him down to 20. When the release came through, he said, "I'm gonna do you a favor. I hired an attorney. The government freed me. I didn't have to pay the tax lien. I'm gonna sell it to you for 20. Bonus, right?" So then I get a text message that says, "Hey, I put an offer in on that house over there." And I replied back and I was like, "All right, that's great." And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, that was supposed to go to my daughter." So then he calls me up on Tuesday and says, "If you can close by Friday, I'll sell it to you for 15. So he had made an offer on another house because he had got the thing cleared up. He knew he was going to get the money from me. So he made an offer on a new house. He sent the text to me by accident. So I saw his pain point. But he offered to me, if I can close by Friday, I'll sell it to you for 15. How many people can do that? There's not a lot. That's the value of having your creditors in place, having that relationship, or having the cash to be able to do it. I think we closed it on Saturday. We didn't make Friday because he was several cities away, 300 miles away, and he didn't have the technological savvy to be able to use DocuSign and everything to get everything filled out and do it electronically. I had to email it to him, and he had to print it out, and he had to take it and sign it, and he had to fax it. But the point is, when you find someone who needs to get rid of a property, you can get the property at a lesser amount if you can move. And the time to build relationships with creditors is when you don't need the money. So that when something like this happens, you're able to go, hey, I need to do something by Friday. So that's Richland Avenue, driving for dollars. Cost me almost nothing. Next. All right, so now there is an entire amount of platforms that have been built around using manpower and resources to find deals. You've got RVM, ringless voicemail. Who's heard of that? All right, so basically what ringless voicemail is, there's a software, what they do is they send 2 phone calls to the same phone number and jam up the phone, and then the third phone number sends a voicemail so that your phone doesn't ring and it just deposits a voicemail. How many people listen to a voicemail? Pretty much everybody. If you get a voicemail that pops up that you've got one, most people check it out. So you can drop a ringless voicemail. So I have some software so I can go in and I can find people who are going through divorce, who are going through pre-foreclosure, who are going through or have a tax lien, all these different public records, right? So this can all be brought together and a list be created. You can skip trace it, you can get the phone numbers, and you can do a mass voicemail, ringless voicemail, text message to all these people. Here's the biggest problem with that. I work full time at Fort Rucker still. If you send out 100 of these ringless voicemails, text messages, whatever, and you get back 50, there has to be someone available to answer the phone, talk to the person, and then there's also a separate software that when the person calls back, that property comes up on your computer screen. So if you send out 100 and somebody, hey, you just left me a voicemail? Oh yeah, what's up? There's a separate software that you have to pay for that when that phone call comes back, that it pops up the property address, owner, and all the information. So that when the phone call comes back, you can say, hey Dex, yeah, I see you got a house on 123 Main Street. We were looking at buying that. Are you interested in selling? Instead of going, hey Dusty, or saying, hey, who's this? Dusty? What, you got a house? See the difference? It costs money to do that, but it's very valuable. I don't have the team built to handle those calls, so I haven't started this yet. I have the money to put it in place, but I don't have the team to handle the incoming calls. So that's another thing I'm looking for. When I passed out the piece of paper, I was asking people what you're looking for. What I'm looking for is people who want to wholesale or people who have time to handle these inbound calls. I can teach you what to say. I can teach you how to handle the calls. But I don't have time to do it myself. So ringless voicemail, text, next slide. Direct mail, it still works here. It doesn't work in a lot of places. Alabama's behind. Embrace it. It's good. Next, cold calling. That also comes along with the ringless voicemail. I can populate a list of over 100 properties right now in Enterprise with phone numbers for people to call. Next, I got the software to do it. I don't have the systems. Well, I don't have the people. I got the systems. I don't have the people. I don't have the manpower. Because if we launch this and we get 50 phone calls back, what are we going to do? I can't handle it. Next. Experience can be taught. Next. Deal Machine, we talked about that. Love Deal Machine, great app. Next. Major financial backing. I've got it. I don't have it. I know people who have it. I'm just a little guy, but I know people who are ready to fund good deals. If you find a good deal, there's money out there to buy it. Do not let the fact that you don't have money to purchase a deal keep you from trying to find deals. If you find a good deal, you can find the money, or you can come to me and I'll find you the money for the deal. That's, a lot of people look at that as the hardest part. It's actually, when you get into it, it's the easiest part. There's so many people out there that have money just sitting. Anybody ever heard of people who buy collections of wine? What kind of interest rate are they making on that wine? They're not. They're just parking their money because they have it. There is so much money available. It's not even funny. Find the deals. There's probably 5 people in this room right now that can find the money. And 2 or 3 phone calls. Next slide, please. All right, so who are you and what are you looking for? Are you a wholesaler? Are you just getting started? Are you experienced? Are you looking for more deals? Do you have a deal to sell? I'll start with you. Do you mind? Microphone? I got it.
I just moved here from the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area, and I ran a real estate company there. And then, so I'm kind of starting fresh here, but I'm in the process of building the company. But in the meantime, I'm going to flip some houses or do something along that line to bring in other income until the other business is rolling.
All right, so what's your name?
Katie Harrison.
And what exactly are you looking for today? If somebody had something here today to give you. Okay.
To learn, I mean, and just to see opportunities, to see what was out there. I came here with no expectations, but just to absorb everything that I learned, because I knew that I would learn something.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Angelique Solomon, and I'm a wholesaler, so I'm here. Anybody, I'm looking for deals too, as well as finding deals.
How are you looking for deals now?
Driving for dollars.
Okay. Anything else?
And I may have a mobile home for sale if anybody looking for mobile homes.
Hold on.
Single wide. It's a single.
Tell us about it.
It's my old mobile home that I'm trying to sell. I'm still cleaning, but in about a month I'll be trying to sell it. I think it's a 92, 16 by 90, I think. I'm not sure of the length.
Does it need to be moved, or can it stay where it's at?
It needs to be moved.
Okay.
And need some work done to it. Maybe about, I don't know. I don't know how much rehab, but it do need some rehab done to it.
Okay, so starting with that, get a contractor or someone to come and give you a quote, right? So if you want to be a wholesaler, what you need to know is your numbers, right? So the biggest problem I see with wholesalers is they don't know their numbers. All right, so you live in the house, take that opportunity to learn, call every contractor that you can find, get every single one of them to come out there that you can get to show up, because it's hard to get them to show up right now. We have the hurricane. Most of our contractors, our crap contractors are in Florida. Our good contractors are booked up. Right?
Yeah.
Okay? So call as many as you can. Get as many quotes as you can. If you get 5 people to show up and give you a quote, go with the one in the middle. You don't want the cheap one. You don't want the expensive one. But use that and have them walk around with you and say, all right, well, you need new flooring that's going to be X number of dollars per square foot. Right? You're going to need this. You're going to need that. Start learning the numbers for the rehab. If you want to be a wholesaler and you come to me and you say, hey, I found this deal. Okay, what is it? Well, it's 1,200 square feet. I can sell it to you for $25,000. You got it under contract for 20. And I say, all right, well, what's my rehab cost? And you say, oh, well, it's 20. If I go and it's 40, you're getting pushed to the bottom of my list or off of it. Right?
Yeah.
So that there is value in wholesalers, okay? If you do your job. So your job is to know the numbers. You can't watch a couple of YouTube videos and think I'm a wholesaler. You've got to learn the numbers. Use your situation. Call everybody. Call plumbers, electricians. Just get them all out there. Right? And learn. And get those numbers, because if you come to me and you tell me you've got a deal that you want to sell me for 30 grand and you've got it on contract for 25 and your numbers are accurate, I'll give you the $5,000. If you find me a deal, the numbers work, I have no problem with paying a $5,000 wholesale fee. But make sure your numbers are right, and that's the hard part. Right? My time right now is being more booked up on working on the deals that I already have. So the value of a wholesaler to me is very high. If you can eliminate me having to go and figure out, find the house, drive for dollars, find it, talk to the owner, negotiate the deal, find the contractors, get the numbers, I'll pay you $5 grand for that. Right? So get the numbers. The numbers this is just a numbers game. The whole real estate thing is a numbers game. So thank you.
I'm Ryan. Pretty much strictly multifamily investor. I do have some single families, but I don't really play in the single families. Not a flipper either. Not really my space. I just came down in orders to go back to Fort Riley, so I'm super excited to go back to Kansas, but I may be interested in offloading a mobile home park that we have in Dothan. So it's a 10-unit park if you guys are interested. 8 homes, 10 pads, it's got 2 open spaces. So we can kind of talk numbers if you're interested afterwards.
Interested.
Okay. So, but we're not in a position that we have to sell it, but we just kind of thought, it's going to be our plan to clear because all my properties are back in Fort Riley, Kansas. So. Aside from that, we're looking for multifamily stuff. That's kind of, like I said, that's kind of our bread and butter. And land, 80 acres in Kansas would be preferable. So if you guys have any family or friends in Kansas that want to sell some hunt land, I'm all in. So.
My name's Jesse York. I'm just here looking to learn.
My name is Austin Blanchard. Really, yeah, just looking to learn. Been married for 6 months, real estate investing for 6 months. We just bought our first property in Ashford, Alabama. It's a 2,000 square foot house, 9 acres of land. We're going to try and develop the land, sell the lots to builders. Right, so hoping there's potential there. It's right in the city, so there's sewer access, utility at the road already. It's got road frontage, all that good stuff. Yeah, and also just trying to, I would love to find out some private loan lenders as well.
You said 20 acres?
It's 9.
No, 9 acres. 9 acres.
Yeah.
How many home lots can you put on it?
You could easily put between 6 to 8. If you really wanted to stack them close, you'd probably put 10. And it's a quarter of a mile from downtown Ashford. I don't know if you're familiar with the city. Quarter mile from Highway 84.
I might know somebody.
Hi, my name is Frank. Got some history with buying and selling properties. Done a little bit of everything. Rehab, tax deed, wholesale, empty lots. Yeah, tax deed. I came to the meeting to need, and properties I've had and dealt with been real slow, like 1 or 2 or 3 properties a year. But I wanted help with creative financing, and I mean, creative deals. You know, you're talking about, we bought this property creatively. My mind, I can't wrap my mind around how to do some of these deals. I know there's a deal there, I just don't know how to do it. And the second thing is finding deals, finding good deals. And recently I bought a commercial property. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but it was such a good deal, I just couldn't pass it up.
There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, well, thank you. We'll talk more about creative deals because it's endless. The creative financing is, touch on that a little bit, and we talked about we're headed into a recession, right? We're going to be sheltered from it a little bit, being here at Enterprise and having Fort Rucker as an Army base that is not affected, so we're going to be sheltered. But there's going to be a ton of deals. Montgomery, Birmingham, Florida, right, when we go into this recession. And one of the mentors that I use talked about 2007, his net worth was in the multi-millions. He looked like a genius, right? 2009, he had a negative net worth, okay? But he made more money off of his rentals than ever before, because when the economy tanks, people rent. So if he was to try to go to the bank and get a loan, they wouldn't give it to him. But he's built so many relationships with private money that when 9/10 hit and he had a quote unquote by the bank a negative net worth, but his positive cash flow was higher than it had ever been, he went to his private money lenders and they bought and bought and bought. Banks dry up during a recession. Private money lenders open up. Build those relationships now. We're coming into one. Again, we're going to be sheltered because of Fort Rucker. But you talking about scraping up deals at the beach, Montgomery, Pensacola, 100-mile radius around here? Banks aren't going to give you the money, but private money lenders will. The ones that truly understand the market, and all of the people that I've been going and meeting with, they're excited about it. They're waiting for it. They're banking cash to wait for that drop. So creative deals is where it's at. As a matter of fact, the one that I closed yesterday, no bank involved. The property under contract on Wednesday, we closed it yesterday. It's a 48-hour closing. You can't do that with a bank, right? Now, private money lender gave me the money to buy that property. I found another deal. It wound up falling through, but for the purpose of illustrating, I offered to trade the property that I had, that I sold yesterday, to this lady for her property, because she wanted to downsize. It was a 2-story, 4-bedroom, and she didn't need all the room and all this stuff. The private money lender that lent me the money to buy property A, would he take his $30,000 investment and transfer it to property B, which was about $180,000 after repair property? Yeah, he's way more secure. He would do that in a heartbeat. And I called him and said, hey, yeah, I'll do it, make the deal happen. Would a bank do that? Maybe.
The private bank, but not
Maybe if you had a relationship that you've built with a private local community bank, maybe.
That's it.
Bank of America, no. Due on sale clause, pay me my money, I'm out. That's the value of dealing with private money. They have sense, right? They're not going to loan you the money if they don't understand real estate. And if they understand real estate, then they're going to be willing to And that's where the big deals come in. When you're dealing with a person that loaned me $30,000 on an $80,000 house to trade that to a $180,000 house. They'll do that every day. So the creative it's a good reason to be here, and we're going to get more into that as we go further. So thank you. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Harvest Hunter, and I'm kind of old school. I started way about 30 years ago back in Houston when real estate was all the seminars and everything. But got away from that, raising family, and so I'm recently retired now. Having a bed and breakfast in Dothan and in Franklin Partners. So actually what I'm here for, looking for, is to build my team. I prefer wholesaling, and when you're coming into that, of course, you need some, decent realtor contacts and some, some rehabbers and some, tradesmen and of course some money lenders. So that's what I'm here for, is to try to do some networking and get introduced to the right people and see where we go from there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for coming.
My name is Ephraim. I'm here looking for multifamily primarily and maybe some properties with owner finance potential. I either want owner finance or not after purchase, just because, like Rob said, when you rent, the money really isn't yours. It's like the appliance guy, because I got to go out and find another refrigerator this afternoon. So I'm kind of looking into getting that owner finance money.
He has been to every single meeting that I've ever had. Thank you.
Hey, my name's Russell Cherry. I met with you guys, my wife Julie. We bought our first apartment building in this town about a decade ago. And it was a wreck. And I just cut my teeth going in there, renovating and learning how to do all. I did construction and concrete work as a kid, but since then I've learned to do just about anything. And I love furniture making, cabinet making. Well, so we've been doing that for a while now. So I'm renovating another building we bought over the Christmas holidays. Great time to buy is in the holidays, by the way. But we're in the middle of that. I got a home repair business and I got a dumpster business. So if you need a dumpster, you got my card, just give me a call. I got tired of waiting on dumpsters, so I just bought a bunch of them. Started my own business, and my son's helping me with it. And my home repair business, I'm kind of booked, and I travel a lot, so it's hard for me to commit to a project besides my own right now. But nice to meet you guys. That's not somebody's on to come to meet. I met Rob over Facebook. And I think it's a great idea.
I actually met you from your sign on the side of your
my trailer?
Trailer.
Yeah, that's right. He's trying to get me to renovate a house for him.
Yeah, contractors hard to find. We can't get them to show up, right?
Yeah, she's a traveling nurse, and so she's actually got a job at Smith Station, Alabama, outside. She's working in Columbus. So I can't stay down here forever working, so I like to go and spend time with her. So as soon as we get done with this renovation, it's taking me 3 weeks. I got another 3 weeks to go, so I have to go back. I can't commit to jobs around here, and I've got too many customers, and it's like just swamped. And I get spread so thin, you're really bad to your customers. I don't like to do it to people. Yeah.
Was that a testimonial for how hard it is to find a contractor?
My name's Dex Gilly. I'm from the area. I build houses. I mainly just do new construction, residential. I'm here. I got Justin. He's a new agent. I've kind of been coaching him up for the last, I don't know, almost a year now. And Zach, he's my cousin. He is about to be an agent. He's doing wholesaling right now. So he is looking for people to wholesale deals to. If anybody in here is interested, he is an aggressive guy for sure. I told him what I wanted, and about, I don't know, 2 hours later, he's like, hey man, I've got 3 opportunities for you on land. Because he was just doing houses, and I'm like, if you find a really good deal on a house, I'll do it. I don't do much remodeling anymore. But whenever I let him know the land's what I'm really interested in, he was Johnny on the spot. So I'm looking for road front land, particularly in Enterprise. I'm going to check your land out in Ashford. I don't know anything about the area, so I'd have to try to find out about that. But it's definitely a good parcel. He gave me a survey. And we have spec deals that we can do with investors if anybody's interested. We do a good bid, so every bank has a cap that we deal with. And of course, I have a cap, it's not as large as my bank, obviously, wish it was. So we always are looking for more people to come on board and do that so we can up our inventory. But I'm gonna pass it over to Zach. They've actually put together a few deals that they can probably tell y'all about. I didn't know we were gonna do this, but this will be their first time, so let's see what they got.
I want Zach to go last.
Go ahead.
I got something for Zach.
I'm Justin Roberts. I'm a realtor here at Enterprise. Here to tell you about this deal we put together. We got 4 lots in the Ridge that we're looking to bring investors to do spec houses. And if you don't know what a spec house is, it's pretty much where an investor comes in and pays costs to build the house. And then after that, you build it for like $110 a square foot, and then we'll sell it for $125. And you split the profit with the builder 50-50. But on this deal, we're looking to do a house around 2,300 to 2,400 square foot. It would cost around $110 to $115 to build it, and then sell it for $125 to $135. But if you did the $125, you would look at a profit of $16,000 to $341.
That's their keep.
That's their keep. Yeah, that's the investor's keep. So
that 110 includes commission.
Yeah, the 110 includes everything: closing costs, commission, everything. But if anybody's interested in spec housing or anything, I have a few pamphlets about the 4 lots and breaking down all the numbers and everything. So afterwards, if you're interested, let me know. I'll give you one.
Hey, my name is Hannah Holloway. I'm Justin's fiance. We're both realtors here at Enterprise. This is where I grew up. But I'm just here really to learn. But I really loved how you said you wanted your wife to be on the same page as you. And I feel like both of us going in together, I'm excited. I think it's going to work really well for our family.
It's critical, right? If you're fighting your spouse, it's not going to work. It's just not, you know. You saw the numbers. I did 9 deals in 9 years. And we went to the class, and we've done 16, yeah. I can't keep up. So in 1 year, you know, and she has no anxiety over it, right? I tell her we go under contract. We had 3 under contract last week. 2 of them backed out, or one of them backed out, and I backed out on one. But you write that into the clause, right? You have the contingency to back out. And we put partner approval. She's my partner. If she doesn't approve, we back out, and we get our earnest money back, and we go to the next one. So, but it's critical to make sure you're on the same page. So it's very valuable. That was worth the money that I spent to go to the big expensive class, was to her to be on point with it. I don't think I needed to spend that money, but it was worth it to have her on board. Thank you. Zach, you're the bandit sign I called, right?
Yes, sir. That's right.
Okay. Bandit sign. You want some knowledge on the bandit signs?
Yes, sir.
Take the ones off the circle.
Okay.
If I'm driving 45 miles an hour, I can't read it. Right?
Yes, sir.
Stop calling me sir, you're making me feel old. Here's the trick to bandit signs. Put them about 2 car lengths behind a stop sign inside neighborhoods.
Okay.
Don't put them on the main streets. We're driving too fast. I see your sign, I'm like, hey. Right? You're doing a couple bad things there. You're drawing attention to yourself. Have you got any calls? Bad calls yet?
Bad calls, you said?
Yeah, bad, like F you asshole.
No, I've never had any bad guys, really.
All right, well, the city can make an uproar about it and fine you and do all that crap, right?
I seen them, took a bunch of them away, I think. They took some of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're being passive aggressive and just taking your signs up. If you go into subdivisions and put them a couple of car lengths back from the stop sign, people are already slowing down. They got time to read it. They can see your number, and if they're actually looking to sell their house, they can stop right there. There's nobody behind them, and they can call you. Okay, I've put out bandit signs before, and I've put them out, and as I'm walking back to the car, my phone is ringing. I look up, and there's somebody stopped. All right, so stay off the main roads. You're bringing negative attention. Your biggest problem with bandit signs and your most complaints are going to come from realtors. They think you're stealing business from them.
Right.
I got a call on I think it was a Saturday morning, very early. Hello? Cuss, 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 you fucking asshole. Right?
Right.
So loud, through my phone, it woke my wife up. Shut it off, go back to bed. Don't let that stuff bother you, right? You gotta have thick skin if you're gonna do this. And then I went back to sleep. When I woke up, I took the phone number and I skip traced it, and I found out he was a broker, an appraiser, home address, home phone number, wife's name, everything. So then after I woke up and had my cup of coffee, I called him back. And very not politely explained to him that, and what he said when he called me was, I saw your effing sign, it was outside my effing office, I pulled up your signs, I'm throwing them away, da da da. So I called my mentor, and he was like, it's a realtor. So I skip traced him and found out, yeah, he had a broker's license, he's not active, but, and I said, I'm about to go out and check on my signs, and for every one of your signs, or one of my signs that you pulled up, I'm gonna take 10 of yours. Because my signs cost less than $1 and yours cost like 30, right?
Right.
I didn't do that. But I said, your so-and-so, home address, your business address. That stopped it. So the point to that is you're going to get your biggest negative feedback from realtors who think that you're stealing business from them. And what I told him was the day before I had went and looked at a house that was so bad, I took a gas mask because the person had passed away that lived in it, and he had a bladder control issue, and he just peed wherever, and it stunk. So what we do as investors is we take houses like that, we fix them, we get rid of that, and we put it back on the market. And that's what I told him, was you can have your bad opinion of me, but I'm taking a house that you couldn't sell anyway, and I'm fixing it, and I'm improving the community.
That's right.
Right?
Well put.
Jonathan told me about, he posted an ad on Facebook about something about distressed owners or something, and he had a realtor come and just blow up on, you're a professional, and we're solving problems. We're using creative financing to fix stuff that your average realtor can't fix because your average realtors don't have the money to put it up to fix it. So don't let that be a negative, right? So if you keep putting out bandit signs, you're going to get calls.
I've been getting calls. I got 6 so far, actually 8. So I got 6 past 2 weeks, 3 weeks so far. I got 3 more last night for this coming up week I'm going to check out.
Do you know where they're calling from, what sign they're calling from?
That's what I know.
They're probably not coming from the ones on the circle, and those are going to bring you negative attention. That's why I'm saying,
Okay.
look for especially corners where there's garbage.
So there's garbage?
Yep. Because nobody's picking it up, so nobody's going to worry about your sign.
Right, yeah.
I'm serious. I've done bandit signs. I've gotten tons of calls from them. I was just telling you about one that I've got. And I was so new that I was scared to buy that house because I was so new. But you're going to get calls. If you put out bandit signs, you're going to get calls. But look for little corners where there's some trash, and while you're there, pick up the trash. stick the sign out. And if code enforcement doesn't seem to be a big deal in Enterprise,
Right. The
right?
programs I can only do on the weekends. The one I got, said only do band signs on the weekends, you gotta take them up Sunday night, or they're all gonna be taken up. But Enterprise is not a big deal.
Right. That's what a lot of them teach. Put it out on Friday night and pick it up Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Talking about realtors, I'm a realtor myself.
Yeah, I know you are.
If you want to see some realtors call, watch me put out a sign. The city is about to call me like 10 times. Hey man, I heard blah, 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 everybody's called. You gotta get your signs up. You gotta put them up at this time or this time so we can't call you. And whenever I was only selling houses and I wasn't building, I would get reported to the real estate commission to the extent that I had a personal relationship with a lawyer. He just called me and laughed and like, hey man, they called it there and reported you again. That's because I went into Copper Creek whenever that subdivision was stagnant and nobody got anything for years. And then I stayed out there all the time, got it really hot, did the same thing in the other subdivision. And then they got upset because they're like, well, now we're out here and he's out here and we're trying to have our open house. And I'm just like, well, if I wasn't out here, you wouldn't be having an open house. So, but it ain't just wholesalers, it's anybody doing something a little bit different. Yeah.
Again, another reason, the earlier conversation while I'm on the fence about getting my license. We got 10 minutes. Anybody got any last questions?
Can I go real quick?
Yes, go.
Okay, so I came in both the reasons. One came with Dex, and he has 11 lots in Headland. There's 3 1-acre lots, and you can profit 16,000 of those. And there we have 8 3-acre lots, and you can profit 17,000 or 18,000 more on that one. But I'm gonna tell you about Dex. He's built 30 houses, right? He's gonna close 30 houses approximately projected. Yeah, and he's already sold 29 before he's finished 30. Like he's selling the house before he's finished the house.
That's the way to do it.
So it's almost guaranteed money when you're an investor. So that'd be a great thing. If I had the money, I'd definitely invest in Dex. But another reason I came by for me was I want 5-star real estate investments, so I try to do real estate investing. I'm like a wholesaler right now. Dex is one of my buyers. I know Rob said he'd buy if I gave him a good deal. I haven't called him yet because I ain't got a good deal yet, but I'm looking at that. And if anybody else would be interested, I'd love to get your info down. If I get a good deal for you, I'll definitely send it to you. So, and that's about it for me. So, get back to Rob.
I know other buyers. I mean, it just.
What if all the wholesalers did like a weekly newsletter and we could put our email down? I'd do that.
I passed out a piece of paper for everybody to write their email on. Because I'm not opposed to being a wholesaler myself when I get full. Right? I can only handle so many properties. I can only do so much. And I would love to, and the goal of having this group is to pass deals on to other people. I want people to make money by coming here. So if you're a wholesaler right now, I'm looking for a deal right now. Next month, I might not be looking for a deal. I might be full and I might be giving deals away. Any final remarks before we get kicked out? Because our 11-to-1 meeting has officially, as always, went well over 1. But it's all good. It's all good. We all learn. Thank everybody for coming. I appreciate it.